Oops.
And we are live, I guess.
Neil is still muted.
Neil, you're muted or something.
Oh, yeah, I was
Hi.
muted. Yeah, because I blew my nose. Sorry about that.
There you go.
Welcome everyone to the Will Harrell after party, or also known as Will of Spades, over on TikTok there. If you missed the first interview or the original interview that we did before the show, there is a link to it below if you want to check that out. Also, if you guys are kind of like, hey, that's pretty cool music for the intros and outros to these shows, well, you can check out all my music at the SoundCloud link down below. You can also check out all the stuff that Mikey does musically with the links down below as well. And all of Will's links are in the description box in the interview if you want to find out more about Will as well. And we have now it's actual Dr. Ben.
Actual
Ben.
Dr.
My name like all day because
Wow.
I don't know. I feel like
Confabulations, Ben.
All hail the doctor on board.
I'm also the Crab Rangoon King and Trans Jesus. Those are both nicknames that I have been given by the ACA. So
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. Yeah.
Throughout all your time watching you on YouTube, I never knew what you were going to specialize in, so I can ask you now.
General.
well, fun fact, I changed all of my handles pretty much to be Family Dr. Ben so that I wouldn't be asked that all the
Well, then allow me to
HR.
ask one more time. HR.
HR's here too.
I am indeed.
I want to address something real quick here in the chat.
What's it? What? You did what?
Dark Rider, I said you should come on and share your story. He says, I wish I can, but I guess you can't. And I kind of was like, well, why can't you? I mean, if it's going to put you in jeopardy in some way, then obviously, yeah, don't come on. But if it's not, you're always welcome to be a guest on the show.
If it's just that you think your story's boring, believe us, it's still
HR
useful.
put a comment in the private chat that might be relevant.
Yes, I knew that. Living in the Middle East, normally I introduce myself and my name to people, but I really can't risk it, and even so nobody knows. Okay, I got you, Ron.
Makes sense. Makes
Wouldn't-
sense.
I got you. I would not want to put you in jeopardy in any way, shape, or form. However, if there comes a time when you feel comfortable enough to be able to do so, I will be here. Just
Even
FYI.
a camera off episode would work too, right?
That's right. Yep. Yeah. You can disguise your voice. I know there are programs that do that as well if you want to do that. But no pressure at all. You're always welcome to hang out in the chats with us anytime you want. And by the way, I think this is the first time I've seen you in either my Twitch or YouTube chats. So welcome. Welcome, my friend.
Just start learning accents, and no one will ever know. Especially an Irish accent. Irish accents are so fucking easy.
No, wait a minute. I'm dating an Irish girl, and every time I try my brogue on her, she laughs and says it's nothing like an Irish
Shut the
person.
fuck up.
Yeah. See, that's
The best person on the internet to hear do accents is when you get Katie Montgomery to do an American accent, because she just says yeehaw over and over.
Katie cracks me up, man.
Well, I'm tomorrow, I guess I'm having an accent I don't know, imitation contest with Richard Gilliver on Talk Heathen. So
Oh no.
it's how we get super chats now, is we read the super chats in the other person's accent, and and it just ends up being really bad because we don't try, we just do the worst one we can come up with, and people give us money. So
have you ever seen Onage Pranks? That guy does so many accents. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, his accents are like some of them are exaggerated.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they're still done so well. I think my favorite one that he does are some of the like Asian, like Korean accents, because they're that close to being racist, but they're still done really well.
Yeah, Andy's talking back and forth with them and switching accents, and that is truly a skill and impressive.
I like to do voices and accents and stuff too, but you know, like Will said, some of them could be considered to be racist, but
The only two that I've steered away from, because I feel like I can do a few pretty well. The only couple that I've steered away from are Russian and Asian, because Asian, it's covered in like every form of media, the stereotype. Just watch an episode of South Park with an Asian guy, and that's the stereotype. But then Russian as well, because every Russian sounds like a deep, burly man, and it just it isn't the case. I mean, the case can be said for every other accent. Not every Irish person sounds like this. Not every country person sounds like this. But
honestly, your Irish sounds like the Lucky Charms guy.
Magically delicious.
Yep.
So when does like stereotyping, something that it's kind of true though, become where it turns into being racist?
I think like, when it's the group is a minority that is currently or has been oppressed, like it, because like with a lot of like European accents, it's like it wouldn't be racist to do like an English accent, because I think they were primarily the colonizer, and so I don't think like we don't want to punch down. So like if it's a group, like Asian cultures a lot of times are still oppressed. So like especially with, I talked about the MSG racism today and the whole thing with COVID and stuff, like people still oppress people from Asian heritage. So it's like you have to be careful on, is that group an oppressed minority or are they not? And I think that's where the line is.
What if you're what if you're part of that bloodline?
If like, you're part of it, like if you have connection
Arabic.
To it, it's probably more okay. But like if you have to be careful of context to where you're going to be read as if you're part of that group, and not that people have to imply or read into it. Because if it's not obvious that you're part of that group, it can still be seen as racist.
Somebody doing an Arabic accent.
It's like the stupid argument saying, I'm not racist, I have black friends. And someone can still say
that type of affiliation.
Right? Something can still be said, said that is very racist or offensive. But, just because they have a little cop out, it doesn't make them right.
Yeah, it's something that's hard, and I think it'll be kind of different depending on the settings that you're in and who is all in the group. But that's why it's kind of hard to do it in like broad internet settings, because of the fact that you don't know everybody in the room and you don't know who's going to read into certain things. So, the internet's a hard place to be. Yeah.
I guess that's why we are. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's one thing if we're doing like, dude, like a surfer guy or a stoner or something. That's one thing, but
I find that highly offensive.
Why you gotta pick on the stoners, man?
Yay, she's standing up for stoners.
Totally chill, right?
No, I was thinking Southern Californians. Dude.
Yeah, because BC guys are known for speaking like that too, because we're the weed capital of Canada here. So
I just watched
and we can pick on Canadians all we want.
I just watched Moon Unit's video for Valley Girl. Do you remember that from back in the day?
Yeah.
Frank Zappa song. Yeah.
That's Frank Zappa, though, not Moon Unit.
Well, no, Moon Unit sings it, but Frank does music. He wrote it and he plays on it.
I thought he sang it too. The Valley Girl, she's a Valley.
Well, he's the background, but the whole verse talking, it's kind of so bad. Like the whole conversation that's going on through the whole song is her.
Oh, Moon Unit's doing the Valley Girl voice, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Which is the verse? She does it.
Yes.
Can't get much better than Catholic Girls, though.
I still like that song.
That song's great.
Catholic girls, their tiny little mouths.
The thing that gets me is like how much comedy, and I say comedy loosely, has changed. My dad came out to visit me a few weeks ago, and he showed me this guy who was real popular in the 80s and 90s called Dice Man.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay. Hickory dickory dock.
I dated all of y'all.
Memory unlocked.
Ding. But so much of this guy, like, he wanted to show it to me because of his rendition of different nursery rhymes, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
those are kind of funny. But then the rest of the show is just like, I can fuck any bitch I want, and a bunch of super like racist, stereotypical jokes, and I'm like, that's not funny.
I know you'll say it doesn't matter, but back in the day, the thing about him was you knew that was just a persona he was putting on. He was so not like that in real life. But I know that kind of doesn't matter today.
It wouldn't fly today, not at all.
Yeah.
No. You would be canceled so quick.
He was making fun of that person.
And that's how, I mean, it can go both ways, especially in modern age. Like, someone can say something super fucked up on a stage, and then in reality, like, their persona in real life, or their personal life is really well structured or whatever, really, really open-minded. But then on the flip side, especially in the politician world, you get all these politicians that say, oh, we're going to protect our children, but then they end up on Epstein's island.
Yeah. Fuck.
Anonymous was pushing that black book the other day. I didn't even know it was out, but I saw an anonymous post that said that they'd released it. No Biden.
He posted the unblacked out one.
Yeah. That's what it was.
I think that was on TikTok, wasn't it?
I saw it
on
Twitter.
Facebook.
I'm sure it's everywhere now.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Well, I gotta say, I got thrown for a loop because I know someone else by your name. And so when I saw the name pop up, I was like, wait, Will Harrell. And then I saw your face, not the same one, but still, I know someone of that name.
So, with the Army, we get assigned emails based on our name, our first and last name. I don't think the middle initial usually matters, but when I enlisted, I was the 29th person. So my Army email is William not giving my middle initial Harrell 29. And since then, I'm sure there's been more. But I've never met another Harrell who is active duty.
Obviously, HR isn't my first name, but there's literally an artist with the exact first and last name that consigns at the same art store that I consign work at. So there's there's H. Johnson over here and H. Johnson over there.
That's hilarious.
I mean, every time I hear HR, I just think of how many times my paperwork has gotten pushed back. But it's fun. So sometimes I used to, when I grew up. So my mom was very white collar. She grew up working for like the mayor in her hometown. She worked in the Department of Citrus in Florida before it got disbanded, and she always wanted that for me. And naturally, also growing up in the South among a bunch of good old country boys, I wanted to go a little bit more blue collar, hence why I enlisted. But now I want that. Like, I'm getting my degree in military history right now because I want to work in a museum one day. I just want to sit on my ass and talk about history one day.
Yeah, cool.
It's so cool. My stepdad is he's on the Midway down in San Diego volunteering, and he loves it. And that's basically a museum, old battleship museum.
I'm assuming about the Battle of Midway.
Oh yeah.
Its name. I actually just wrote a discussion post about that and all its like effects that it had in World War II, leading up to eventually the fat man and the little boy being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, and then I saw the movie when it came out, and that movie was so fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. It was
good. If you should definitely go to the Midway. My stepdad would probably love to give you a tour. He loves talking military, and he gets to restore the planes that are there. So it's really cool.
That's
cool.
Yeah.
If you ever find yourself in San Diego.
Yeah, I will. I will definitely have to check that out if I'm ever out that way. Right now, I'm trying to go further east. I'm hoping my next duty station is North Carolina, Fort Liberty, as it's about to be called. But if I go out east, definitely, because I have some family in California, some in-laws, and I would love to visit out there.
Yeah, you should before it falls into the ocean, for sure.
Same can be said for Florida.
I got a question for Ben.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for you, my friend?
Residency starts in June. Well, that's not the immediate next thing. I'm getting top surgery on Monday. That's the next thing.
Nice.
So I'm gonna be sitting around for a couple weeks, just doing shows. Hopefully, not too narked off my ass for Takis this Thursday. So that'll be fun. No, I've got a month off because my official graduation ceremony is at the end of May, but I finished early because I basically saved up all my vacation time. I was like, I don't want to be here longer than I have to be, so I just moved it all till the end. And then I start residency in DC the beginning of June. So,
bravo, nice,
awesome,
it's gonna be fun.
Well, thanks for your service, both in the military and future nursing. I mean, that's amazing.
No.
Doctor and nurse.
Nursing is a tough job. So I'm in a field unit now, so I don't do as much patient care as I did when I was working in a hospital unit. But the amount of, I don't know, it was rewarding because I love the medical field. I love everything I've learned in the medical field. But son of a bitch, it wears you down, especially post-COVID. Not just military healthcare, but healthcare in general has taken its toll. So anyone who aspires to be in the medical field, major props, and even more so to Ben is on that side for me. But even more so for those who want to just climb the ladder, RN or doctor or NP, whatever. It's a tough freaking field.
I majorly have to tip my hat to anyone in that field that's also a parent, because being a parent during COVID must have been a nightmare.
Yeah, I said in the live, I recently adopted my stepdaughter, and granted she's a little older, so I skipped the terrible twos and all that, but she never had terrible twos. It was still a challenge going from virtual back to brick and mortar, and then her first year back when they started reopening everything in 2021. It was essentially all virtual, except she would actually go to school. They would sit everyone down in the classroom and say, "Okay, everyone, open up your laptops. No more paper assignments."
Well, that's just
the way it is in schools
into the
now?
virtual world. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, isn't that the way it is in school these days now? They just all have laptops. They don't really use notebooks anymore.
Well, the ones that were behind definitely got pushed into it. So hopefully it's consistent across the country.
The other end of COVID parenting. I had a child I was raising with my ex at the very beginning of COVID, and I was just helping be stepdad. But there was a dad in the issue, and he's full MAGA, and he didn't believe in COVID. So that was a huge...
Oh, fuck.
Huge. Yeah. Well, we didn't... my ex didn't want to give him up until there was some agreement that he was going to wear a mask and they were going to be careful. And of course, this full MAGA, we couldn't get that. So she held him away from him.
It was 18, 20 years ago. The state of Maine gave laptops to every school kid in the state.
Nice.
It's been that long.
Man, I didn't have that, but granted, I was in Florida, so.
I was right at the beginning of the computer revolution, so we had the boxy Apple. Huh?
Saying here in South Carolina, at least in my area, it depends on the district that you're in, whether or not you have state of the art everything or you have crap.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
I don't know how well they've kept it up, but that was a thing, and it's still a thing.
That's one of the things that frustrates me the most. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I imagine that's how it is for the bigger states, at least, because the thing that I keep in my mind is the county that I live in currently has a larger population than the entire state of Wisconsin. And naturally in Texas, there's between like Fredericksburg, which is just like west of Austin, and El Paso, there's jack shit. Nothing but like farmland and desert. So yeah, I would imagine the county definitely has a say in, what it is too.
Yeah, we might get some people crossing over here because some folks have a little bit of a lags issue, so like lagging and stuff like that. So it's never intended. Nobody, I don't think, ever intends to step on anyone's toes, but it's always good to have little pauses. Yeah, it does. It does.
Well, if I do, I apologize. I blame this.
Yeah.
No, I apologize in the private chat because I was like, oops, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I just figured everybody's on the same page of like it happened, and it's just like that's why I'm just like, so I just say softly, go ahead. That way they're not waiting for me to like finish when I step on people. So yeah,
I've
seen
there's
people
a pretty bad
lose their minds over being talked over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Shut up! I'm talking. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Stop stepping on Ollie. Jeez. Poor guy.
I pretty much gave up a long time ago on getting a word in whenever I want to.
How's that picket going? You still picketing?
Oh yeah, we're still on the picket lines. The last news we had from the union was the union made a comprehensive offer to the Treasury Board Thursday night, and it's Saturday afternoon, and we're still waiting to hear back from their side. I mean, they haven't even addressed our offer.
There's a few pages on TikTok that are live streaming the picket lines.
Oh, probably.
Oh, wow.
This is the largest picket or strike in Canadian history.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so it's about 15 people.
Yeah. It's about well. There's a little over 100,000 people actually walking picket lines. There's just over 150,000 of us actually out on strike.
So, wow. But you came in with the perfect Eeyore voice right at that time. Loved Eeyore. It. Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah. I do an Eeyore voice.
Apparently you sound like Eeyore.
Just that one time. It was perfect. I thought it was planned.
Lots of voices. I love various like voice impersonations.
Don't forget
so much.
Yeah, well, that's a description of the state of Maine. We got 1.3 million people in the whole state. It's just.
You mean the steroid deers?
Wait.
Those ones?
Yeah, and the province of Prince Edward Island has 140,000 people.
Yeah, well.
And yet you have the same number of senators as California. Crazy.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And one of them, Susan Collins, which is too bad.
Have you seen that YouTube video saying like more people in Canada live inside the United States than in Canada, like based on geography?
Yeah, well, no, it's 80% of Canada's population lives within the lower 20% of the country.
Yeah,
like an hour from the border kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Steph, I'm going to raise you. Mine is Tim Scott.
Yeah. Susan's bad. Tim Scott's a lot worse.
Here, I got one for you. Everyone raise your glasses to Greg Abbott.
Oh.
Greg Abbott?
Ouch.
I have no idea who that is.
Texas.
Texas.
Wheelchair.
He's the one making it very difficult on trans people in Texas right now.
Jackass.
Texas making things difficult? No.
So
I don't even know who my governor is anymore.
No more fake toast.
Right. The biggest pet peeve to me, or probably not the biggest, but is whenever I have to justify my beliefs because I'm not part of those beliefs, whether it be talking about Christianity or any other religion. Occasionally on TikTok and elsewhere, actually, I just got into a back and forth with my dad, actually, about the LGBTQ plus and the trans community. I'm a straight white male. I am not part of any of those communities, and I'm okay with that. But it does not mean that anyone, period, should have to make, or should, or can make laws prohibiting that community, because guess what? If you want to focus on that little tiny 1% of people who actually do cause harm in or out of that community, the big talk has been that Tennessee school shooting with the perpetrator being a trans person. Then you know what? Focus on every other group like that, or shut the fuck up. But that's my soapbox.
Yeah, the list of white cis males just goes on and on and on and on.
That was just bad timing.
Yeah, I had a weird conversation with my boyfriend about all gender bathrooms, and he couldn't understand it. And he thought, well, if it's all gender, why do they have any partitions up? I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, we went on for like an hour until he finally was like,
privacy.
oh, it was just a joke. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you.
My soapbox about bathrooms.
Stupid.
The only thing that needs to change, well, there can be many things that change, but the one thing that needs to change about bathrooms is the damn gaps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't understand why there's gaps.
Yeah. And right now it sounds like these all gender bathrooms are getting rid of the gaps, but he was just he really thought that there should be, all public buildings should have a third restroom installed. And I'm just like, do you know how much work that's going to be? Why can't you just use the same area for the sink as women, men, and transgender? Like, why? I don't get it. So urinals are partitioned. Bummer.
I could see that like all gender bathrooms working in most of the world. And I say that kind of loosely, but most of the world would be fine, I think, with something like that. But here's an example of why I don't think that would work in the U.S., at least in the U.S. There was a robot that they had that was designed here in Canada that went from coast to coast. Okay. And everyone that saw the robot on its jersey kept it safe and hung out with it and walked with it for its entire walk. And the people over in Netherlands thought that was a great idea. So we shipped the robot over to Netherlands, and they did the same thing. And it walked from right across the country, and everyone was happy and cheering on the robot, and the robot was interacting with people. And then another country picked it up, and they did the same thing. It walked like another 10 days or something in another country. And then they shipped it over to the US. And within the first 2 weeks,
that was not
within the first 2 weeks, the robot was beheaded, dismantled, and completely destroyed.
Was on the roadside desk. I remember that. Yeah, it was on the East Coast. It was on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was in Philadelphia that it ended up getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Wow, Philadelphia, what do you want? They booed Santa Claus.
Who was the decider in that? I mean, obviously, you start in San Francisco. Isn't that where peace and love comes from?
Well, no, they started it. I think I can't remember where it was started, but it was somewhere. I think in somewhere in Maine. I think and it was supposed to go to San Fran. Right, it was supposed to go across that way, and it got diverted down to Philly, and then everyone tore its head off and pulled it to pieces. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with? Did you not know the history of this robot? Like, did you not see all the other countries going, yeah, cool, a robot doing a cross country thing for charity, no less, too? And
did the Eagles lose? Sorry,
it's like, what the fuck? What
you keep
the
saying
fuck?
It. You keep saying it, Neil. You keep saying, do you not see?
The problem with the bathroom thing is that the people that get harassed about the bathroom shit are usually cis women who are gender non-conforming. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's just stupid.
The best recent statement by everyone's favorite Matt Walsh. So like the whole the whole garbage arguments of like, well, but if we let trans women use the women's bathroom, then any man could just walk into the women's bathroom and assault somebody. Like, okay, number one, they can already do that because we don't have bathroom attendants. Anybody can walk into any bathroom, and people that are usually assaulting somebody are not pretending to be trans to assault somebody. They just do it. But Matt Walsh recently said, well, we're so terrified of men pretending to be women going into the women's bathroom so that you should have men like Matt Walsh standing guard in the women's bathroom to prevent things from happening. So you're so scared of this imaginary situation of men pretending to be women and going into the women's bathroom when they aren't women to go assault people, but you think you belong in the women's bathroom?
Right.
Well, you know, and then there's Posey Park. Then there's Posey Parker, who basically is going, yeah, we ought to, men, you should go right in there with your gun.
Right. It's like your whole argument was that men don't belong there, but you're going to say that these men do belong there with their guns. Like, can you just let the trans women pee? Just let the trans women pee, okay? Like, it's...
But the alt-right men, those are okay. The alt-right ones.
The alt-right men are okay to be in a bathroom with women.
The alt-right ones.
Aren't these the same guys who now want to check little kids before they play sports down in Florida?
Yep. They think that they should be policing who goes into women's bathroom.
Yeah.
The way people get people to argue against their own interests is astounding, because I'm a mom. There's a point where my son reached an age where he could basically do most things on his own, but still needed some assistance. Do I take him with me into the girls' room? Am I supposed to go into the guys' room? Am I supposed to ask a stranger? Like, I appreciate it when there's a family restroom that we can go to. Like, this is helpful for other people. And just trying to hurt one small section of people, you're actually harming a lot more people. Like, people are stupid.
Yeah. My boyfriend's whole argument was that he has a daughter that's 8. And I was like, well, is that what men do in the men's room? Do they just, just whip it out willy-nilly on their way to the urinal? I mean, would it be a big deal to like open a door, enter a little stall and close the door and then do your business? Like, I don't get it. What's wrong with you men? And he's just... he didn't get the argument at all. I'm just like, okay, well, think about it this way. You want a whole community of people to not know where they can urinate comfortably and not, I'm not going to be accepted in this one. I'm not going to be accepted in this one. No matter which one I go into, someone's going to be offended. They can't piss comfortably. I'm like, that's not cool. And he was like, okay, I kind of get it, but he still didn't get it.
It does more than that because people think that it's just a bathroom, but think about all of the public places that you need to stop to use the bathroom. You are effectively banning trans people from public spaces.
Yeah,
that is what happens.
Forget too.
I'd be okay with it, except for that bad habit that men have. Pardon me, of washing their pee-pees after.
Really?
That I read that on the Twitters.
That was another another fake argument that people were.
The men wash their willies in the sink, and it was just a little bit weird. But then it got me thinking. Well, do they use the blow dryer for any reason after? Or
that's the best part.
It was a fake argument that somebody was spreading about that, but that goes along with the other fake argument that like going into the women's bathroom, like you don't want to see somebody else's genitals. I'm like, who in the women's bathroom? Like, as I've used the women's bathroom before I transitioned, and I've never seen another person's genitals in the women's bathroom.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen. You're behind a door, you're in a cubicle, and no one's intentionally like trying to watch.
You don't get a gold star for self-restraint either. I mean, hey.
Nobody's comfortable with that in there. Like, and I mean, I get that there's a different environment to like a men's bathroom and a women's bathroom. Like the culture is a little bit different, but like, trust me, nobody wants to see each other in a women's bathroom. That's just not how it is.
In a men's bathroom.
Yeah, the only
I don't want to see anybody else jump in a men's bathroom.
The only exception that often occurs is if someone pre-organizes like, hey, I want to hook up in a bathroom on like one of those cruising sites or whatever, but that is such a small percentage that it isn't even an argument. But
I'm going to assume even they use a stall.
Right?
Right.
The last time that, again, as a straight white male, the last time that I got harassed or made fun of or whatever for using a stall in a men's bathroom was elementary school. You're using an elementary school level argument against trans people.
Mm-hmm. It's awful. It's really just to like make them alienated, just not accept them at all. And it's like, that's terrible. You're a terrible human being. I mean, my boyfriend was surprised when I'm like, women have never urinated in front of each other unless they're in prison. That's just not a thing. It doesn't happen in our bathrooms, and you may have to adapt because it's in our future.
But even then, like, there was a time when we like went camping and two of us went out together for safety. We're still like have our backs turned while the act is happening, and then the other one stands guard. Like,
yep.
That's just I want to say it's bro code, but it's like it's courtesy. like it's not even it's not even relative to one gender. It's not even specifically to one gender. It's like, you know what, like, just let me be courteous and give you some privacy. But everyone wants to think that everyone's looking at everyone's genital.
Because that's what we do in the bathroom.
Who is the United States senator who had the wide stance and got himself in trouble in an airport bathroom for some reason?
Really?
I can't remember that guy's name.
A few preachers too. I think there's a few preachers.
I guess it was.
I wanted to introduce notorious them to the inside of them. Okay.
Yeah, he said his excuse was, "I have a wide stance."
There's just so much down there. I need all this room.
Okay.
Have any of y'all heard the song?
Got off a horse.
Have any of y'all heard the song by Lil Dicky, Ex-Boyfriend?
I never even know who the hell's Lil Dicky.
Dixie.
He's a joke rapper. All of his songs they're funny, and
is he like the Weird Al of rap?
Right, but so one of his songs is the only time that I've heard any evidence towards someone looking at someone else's genitals in the bathroom, because in the song the dude's intimidated by this girl's ex-boyfriend, and he's like, I gotta see what he's got. But that's the only damn time that conversation has ever been brought up is, let me see what you got going on. That you're her ex. What?
Detachable penis. Wasn't that a good song back in the 90s?
Yeah, that King Missile.
That was a great video.
He wanted 17, but I talked him, or he wanted $21, but I talked him down to 17.
You couldn't find my
guy
penis.
Had to buy back his own penis.
And where was it? It was laying on a blanket with other, what did he say, bric-a-brac?
Something like that.
Okay.
The band is called King Missile. And they have a song called Detachable Penis.
It's the chorus.
It's just this guy telling a story about how he went to a party and he woke up the next day after getting really drunk and he realized that his penis was gone. So he went back to the party to go see if anyone there saw it, and nobody knew, nobody saw it. And then he was walking down the street and he saw a street vendor selling his wares on the street, and there was his penis, right? So you just have to it's a funny song. So.
This sounds like hilarious. A horror story of a trans man who lost his packer.
The guy sings it kind of frantically too, so yeah.
Well, no, he doesn't. He's totally chill about it.
I thought it was more like he was all manic, from how I remember, but it's been a while.
There was a story somewhere near my hometown where a woman found out her significant other, boyfriend, fiance, husband, whoever it was cheating on her. And so she sliced off his dick while he was sleeping. Somehow didn't wake him up.
Bobbited him.
Yeah, full on
Lorena.
But somehow it didn't wake him up. I don't know about you, but personally,
what?
That's possible. That's not possible.
She has to tranquilize him or something to sleep.
Maybe.
Did you go into shock while you're
He
asleep?
must have been really drunk.
Yeah, alcohol and NyQuil, I guess, but threw it in a cornfield or some random farmland. He woke up, realized his dick was missing. They actually found it in the cornfield, and that's how she was.
Oh no!
But
is Tons of Mice in the side chat?
Yes.
Tons is in the side chat. He's gonna mention cornfield bow. This sounds like a cornfield bow reference. For the people who haven't been around my channel in a while, at least the Twitch side, Tons has been. I don't even remember the whole context that started cornfield bow, but it was like the idea is that the only thing that can happen in a cornfield is anal, and we came up. And by we, I mean, I think it's mostly Tons of Mice that came up with Cornfield Bow, the scarecrow in the cornfield. And he's been writing fan fiction in my Discord about Cornfield Bow. And like there are pages and pages of fan fiction about Cornfield Bow in my Discord. And I didn't know. I mean, I know Tons of Mice. I know that he is capable of this. I am impressed with the amount of effort that has gone into this Cornfield Bow story. Yeah. And now Tons of Mice is going to be in the Discord writing this installment of the Cornfield Bow saga. So thank you, everybody.
Tons of Mice.
This is what we have to look forward
problem.
to.
Make sure to put the song "Detachable Penis" in it.
I still
Sorry,
want to
Dad.
make.
We've been talking about penises.
I still want to make a radio drama of the Cornfield Bow saga. I think it'd be hilarious to get people in our community to do the voices for all the characters.
I'll do it.
I think so. Sure.
Neil, you can be the narrator.
Okay, sure.
Because it's a guy telling the story, so we can make it you.
I'm down. Fuck yeah.
Really, Tons of Mice. That's just you ruined stew for me.
Cornfield.
Yeah.
I didn't expect someone else to get that kind of ear of corn, but you know what?
What?
Yeah, Will is new to this part of the community, so you haven't been exposed to Tons of Mice yet.
Good luck. Exactly how
but today's your day.
That was something I talked a little bit about at AACon because I met like so many people who I already follow, but then I also met so many other people who I now follow or subscribe to, and because I say I fully deconstructed from Christianity roughly 2 to 3 years ago, and it started obviously when I was a kid. But the big thing is still I'm still learning. Like again, I bought 4 books at AACon. I've probably bought half a dozen beforehand. I still got this book right next to me, and I'm still learning like all the different people in the community. Like they'll say, "Hey, do you know this person?" "Oh yeah, I do." "Do you know this person?" Who's that?"
Well, this is the place to really meet people. I mean, the cons are great. That's where I met Will, and I was the one that got Will into contact with Neil because, like, it's kind of the rite of passage that, like, to really get embedded in the community, you go on Neil's show, and then you meet everybody because there are like the big channels that everybody thinks about, but there's under that surface, there's a whole like community of people and so many channels doing their own things. And so once you're here, you kind of get in touch with at least one person from the different smaller circles, and then you can find kind of your little area of the community where like you might get along with everybody just fine, but then you might find a few people that you really get along super well with, and that you kind of establish a closer community with. And it's a really cool space. Neil has been doing a really good job getting people involved in the community. So like he's how I started. So this is definitely the place to be.
Yeah, I'm another victim of Neil's. I don't even know how the fuck that happened. I think I was watching the show. Something jumped into the chat, said stupid stuff for a while, and saying, "Well, you want to come on the show? Yeah, sure."
My end goal is I want to be on.
Another
one. My end goal is I want to be on Nerds and Heresy with Captain Dadpool.
Hi, Joel.
Just because. Two things. One, he was probably one of the biggest, most influential people in my deconstruction. He provided me with a lot of information that I didn't previously know. And then when I became a patron of his, I learned even more from him. And like there was one session I just had a little Q&A with him. I think it was only me and him in the chat, and I was just back and forth with him on like what I had found out and what he knew already. And but I think I have to be a little bit more of a nerd to do. I think I want to at least finish my degree before I go there. Partially because like I want to also transition to talking more about history. Everyone in both the secular and the religious community talk about big points like the Crusades, for example, against Christianity, or 9/11. Against the Islamic community, or what have you.
Well, certain ones, right?
Certain ones.
Most Muslims are probably very much against what happened there. So.
Yeah, but they still got all lumped into the same extremist group, no matter.
Of course they did. Of course.
Yeah.
I think it was like there was a survey done that Al Qaeda equates to like 0.06 or 0.6 or something like that of the entire Muslim community. Yeah, specifically Middle East. I just want to be a little bit more of a nerd. I guess I want to have more facts and articles behind what I'm learning. I love what I have learned already. I wrote an essay on the Barons Crusade. I think it was like the 5th crusade that happened, and it was more or less the Pope at the time was like, fuck the truce. Let's do them dirty as soon as let's do the Muslims dirty as soon as the truce ends. But I don't know. I love talking about history in general too, not just religious history. So I think I want to be a little bit more of a nerd before I come on his show.
I miss the days when history just used to be facts, and now it's like people are even arguing like if that's even history, if that's how it happened. I mean, I guess it's how someone's perception of the facts can be. I don't know, but people don't even agree on history anymore.
I actually wonder if the History Channel turning into what it turned into added up to some of the crap we're dealing with today, because they went from being somewhat mostly history to everything's aliens and this conspiracy and that conspiracy and what if this.
If you go back to the History Channel in the early 90s, it was the same.
Maybe, yeah. But I just wonder if that contributed to the situation we find ourselves in now.
It's always been this way.
And MTV used to be music television back in the 90s.
See, I know this will be controversial, but I think that wrestling here in America was a big starter of a lot of the people that are maggots now. We're watching wrestling back in the 80s and 90s.
No, there's a really good documentary on the History Channel itself that basically went into what really was the programming back in the day if you took away all the Hitler World War II stuff. And it was Leonard Nimoy narrating an Ancient Aliens, just under a different name.
I really think this country needs to get education consistent and put more money into it. I grew up in San Diego, so we have different education than people on the East Coast, people in the Midwest. And it's just like, why do we have different history books? Why do we have, why aren't we taught the same things?
Education in America is a patchwork because it's all local. The scholastic K through 12 stuff, it's all locally funded. And so you get huge differences in the amount of resources that are devoted to education. And it's controlled by local school boards, which is where the right has focused a whole bunch of attention to basically work the methods of instruction. So people are getting taught a whole bunch of bullshit depending on where they live. So it's really tough. And then you've got guys like DeSantis and the Texas Board of Education that have altogether too much influence and
too much power. Yeah, their textbooks are all across America. Texas.
In general, I think a lot of American history textbooks are American mythology, not American history.
If you go to Germany, there's actual classes on American propaganda.
Going back to Mike, did you hear that Ted DiBiase Jr.'s kid got arrested in the Brett Favre scandal because he took a lot of money for church stuff out of welfare?
Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man?
His son has like a church thing now, and he's also caught up in the same scandal that Brett Favre is caught up, but his money was for religious stuff, but it still came from welfare money.
That's garbage. No.
Makes me feel good to be a Chicago Bears fan now because we've hated him since. And their new quarterback, he's a jerk too.
I think the freedom thing should be like thrown out the window, and we should do like Finland and make private schools illegal, because if rich people had to send their kids to public schools, guess how involved they'd be.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
I was very fortunate. I grew up in Lexington, Massachusetts, the birthplace of American liberty. And it was a whole bunch of Harvard and MIT professors lived in the town because it was an up and coming suburb at the time. And the school system was very good.
So it was for
Ames, Iowa was the same because we had all the Iowa State University professors that were either half retired, and so they went back to get their teaching cert and then taught high school. So we had PhDs for cool.
That was for my mom. She grew up in Chicopee, Mass. So she got a good bit of that. And meanwhile, in Florida, some of the things that were brought to my attention, especially after I started posting videos, was the amount of things I just didn't learn about in public school. And now I'm seeing more things like that are just totally being erased. I saw a post yesterday that in a high school textbook that the colonization of the Europeans when they first landed here was peaceful, where the Indians just said, yeah, we'll give you some of our land, and went about their business, and while the Europeans went about theirs, where in reality it was actually a lot worse. And tonight I was helping my daughter with some social studies homework, and the definition that she was given for Holocaust, sorry if this monetizes you, Neil, but the definition of Holocaust that she was given was a sacrifice to God or something like that.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What?
That's disgusting.
No.
That's disgusting. That's
yeah. Because I asked her, like, where's she get this from? And she's like, my school website. I'm like, do you know what the Holocaust was?
Aren't there organizations that can sue that school system? I mean, that's not just disgusting. It's
the Anti-Defamation League for one.
That's what I'm saying.
ACLU.
I don't know.
I asked her afterward because even in public school we learned what the Holocaust in World War II was, and I asked her, have you heard of the Holocaust before from World War II? No. Have you heard of Hitler? Yeah, I've heard of Hitler. Okay, do you know what he did? No. Okay, well, this is what he did. And she was like, okay. And so she went back and like looked it up and gave me a different definition, which was basically the definition of genocide specifically was what it was. I said, good, but because it says Holocaust, let's pinpoint a little bit more. So I pulled out my phone and I pulled up National World War II history.org or whatever the website is. And it says, you know, it was the genocide of approximately 6 million Jews, along with 5 million pagans, homosexuals, a bunch of other, oppressed groups. And she's like, oh. I said, yeah. Yeah.
Kind of a big deal.
A little bit.
Yeah, I wonder if this is something FFRF would be interested in knowing about.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly, well, again, I live in Texas. Granted, I live in the ass crack of Texas right now, but
where's the ass crack?
It's like this is what the panhandle I'm familiar with. The ass crack and not so much.
I'm new to that.
The only reason my city is on the map is because of Marty Robbins, El Paso. But
you have a sizable military base there.
Yeah, it's the largest military base in continental U.S.
Wow.
Yeah, largest.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's like 1.2 million acres or something like that, reaching all the way like going up into New Mexico with all its various training facilities, and the sister Air Force Base. But none of this is OPSEC. If any of my NCOs ever watch this, this is shit you can Google. But just because it's Texas, like even though the metropolitan areas, Dallas, Houston, Austin, El Paso, are very blue counties and areas, it's very much a red state, especially with Abbott in charge. And that is, especially to me, well, I mean, to everyone, obviously, but especially to me because I love learning about history so much. It's disgusting. I really, not to sound cheesy, but I live by the quote of those who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it. And that is actively happening at the very least in America. It is. The textbooks are being totally changed to make, the European and Native American interactions peaceful. The whole thing rumor is still a thing, that it was a peaceful dinner rather than damn near genocide. And now
it's mythology over history.
Yeah, exactly. Even now, World War II, less than 100 years ago, is not being taught properly, and
there's still veterans from that war alive. Barely, but they're still there.
The thing that I started, or one thing that I heard when I started my degree program was, if you are not disgusted and horrified by history, you're not learning history. And there are a lot of things that, to me, I, say, oh, that makes sense. Like the Second Great Enlightenment period, where Christians were teaching slaves about the Bible, but not telling them about the book of Exodus, where slaves were set free. But
you should read some of the programming manuals they read to people, like the programmed responses that they had to say back, and how repetitive and brainwashing it was. If you read some of those documents, it's insanity. But this is why I'm in South Kakalaki. And I don't know if y'all remember, but during South Kakalaki, during the height of COVID,
not South Ass Crackalaki.
Oh, I love it. But I don't remember, during the height of COVID, there was a board member that made national news because she didn't want to do masking or continue virtual learning, because she said it was up to God whether or not kids lived or died.
And she would have been great teacher back in the day.
My school district
Oh, no.
And there were people in the local group saying that like she would put different questions from the Bible in her stuff when she was a teacher. But that's my school district. So there's probably about 300 of us in the area that are secular homeschoolers because it is so bad down here. And like we have our libraries and things closed for Confederate Memorial Day.
Oh my God.
Like
it's insane.
So, like, I know homeschoolers, a lot of people think they're just religious or like really new age, but there is a small group of us that are secular homeschoolers because we're avoiding the craziness and we want to teach real history and not allow the indoctrination. And with 2A being such a big thing around here with how crazy they are about it, like, I'm afraid one of those things is going to probably happen here one of these days. So,
the thing that again, like Ben said earlier, I'm very new to this community, and I'm very new to honestly changing like most of my views. Is I remember if you asked me 5 years ago, or even like 3-4 years ago, when it was big on tearing down Confederate monuments and the BLM riots and things like that, I would have said that they are 100% out of place. And that they are destroying history and XYZ. Or even recently, the Department of Defense announced that they are renaming, I want to say it's 9 military bases to different names because they are based on Confederate generals or just not great people. The thing in the back of my head is like 5 years ago, yeah, I would have said, why? You're destroying history. But now it's like, but it's pinpointing a specific sect of history, a specific portion of history, and giving acknowledgement that it shouldn't deserve because of the atrocities committed during whatever time period XYZ person or XYZ event occurred. And it's crazy to me that like you said, that real history isn't being taught.
There are right times and places to encounter those sorts of things. It shouldn't be something you have to encounter in your daily life. There are places that you are prepared to go and encounter history, the ugliness of history in that way. It shouldn't be things that are every day around that people have to see and be reminded of everything.
There's a I saved it in my notes. I'm going to see if I can pull it up.
I really like history and ancient archaeology and stuff too, in case you can't tell.
Me too.
And if anyone tries to say the pyramids are built by aliens, I will fight them and get on a soapbox.
But how did they? I'm just kidding.
Who said that?
I was kidding.
I can actually Houdin, the French. If you have the access to the French architect who actually proposed the interior ramp theory, it's actually got a crap ton of evidence behind it now. We almost know exactly how they built the pyramids.
My general operating theory from the ridiculous hours of documentaries that I've watched is it was most likely a mastaba that got built up a couple of times. And yes, with the ramp, the way you suggest.
It's internal, though. So you actually went up and around inside of it, and then that keeps the 7% grade each time.
And with a shitload of manpower, or AKA slaves.
Nope, they were not slaves. They were paid workers.
Some of them were buried, celebrated, like in big tombs and stuff.
Yep.
I thought some of them were brought over.
Nope, it was all voluntary workers that got paid.
Cool. Yeah, see, the aliens didn't build the pyramids, but we do know that the Earth is flat. So keep your,
it's a donut.
Why? Why?
Okay? The Earth stands on pillars.
Because flat Earthers
it's on turtles all the way down.
Turtles.
See, now I heard
it's really weird how modern people seem to think that people in 6,000 years ago in Egypt were stupid. They weren't stupid. They were just like us. They were people just like us. They just didn't have, the accumulation of knowledge that's passed on is something that we benefit from, but we're just as stupid.
They didn't
still
have
go
power
to
tools.
war.
Well,
I would partially argue
6,000 years ago was the beginning of the universe, right?
No, that's right. Yeah, forgot about.
Yeah, we're probably more stupid now. I agree with that.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
We,
Well,
honestly,
yeah,
we,
good
we have
point.
all this technology, but it's so compartmentalized. Everyone has their own little specialty. Whereas back in the day, you had to know a lot more about daily life and how to make and create and get by and use what you had. Like the masons that built the castles and stuff, though, if you ever watch like a castle build, how they marked everything out and like took it apart and made the matching stuff so they could take it apart and reassemble it. Like, I don't know. I think they may have at least made better utility of their surroundings back then than we sometimes do today.
There was I want to say it was a Chinese story where a guy was contracted to build a temple of some sort. And he requested a very specific number of bricks. And when the emperor or the contractor or whoever it was accused him of the wrong amount, he said, okay, +1, plus a single brick. That brick was never used. And that y'all were saying goes back to ancient societies weren't stupid. They were maybe superstitious in various degrees, but they weren't stupid. Like, look at Rome, for instance. Everyone always wants to reference Rome as far as the mechanical and archaeological and architectural leaps and bounds that it made for its time. And that should be evidence. Like, yeah, we have progressed since then, but it doesn't mean, 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000 years ago we were stupid.
I heard just the other day that Da Vinci was tasked to build a bridge, and he had it all drawn out and showed it to the guy that had the money, and the guy that had the money said that'll never work, so they didn't build the bridge. But I heard the U.S. Department of Army Engineers just recently did build it, a mock scale version of it, and it worked flawlessly.
And the article for the internal ramp theory from Jean-Pierre Houdin is in the private chat.
I pulled it up.
2 things. 1, I'm going to ignore the flat earth thing. I will not go there.
We know your joke, Ollie.
We know the joke.
Yes.
And 2, to address the 6,000-year-old comment, that I think that if we could go back 6,000 years and talk to somebody then and say, hey, look at this brand new universe that was just created, I think they would laugh at us until they would think we were insane,
Yeah, but then you just flick a Zippo and they'd be like, ooh.
And they burn you for being a witch.
Yeah, but then we have the Bandera light bulbs. You don't need to flick a Zippo.
There was a Reddit post I saw saying, like, what would happen if we went back 1,000 years from now and gave someone a smartphone? What would they think of it back then?
They'd burn you at a stake.
Throw it in the fire.
Exactly.
Witchcraft, yeah.
Ooh, I have a really, really funny, well, not funny, but interesting story. So my father-in-law, my wife's dad, was very interested in genealogy, and coincidentally, my dad is too. The thing that we found out was, like a lot of people's ancestors, my wife's, I think, times 14 great-grandfather was one of the first people to arrive on the Mayflower. That person's son, I forget the name, John something, was the first male to be accused of witchcraft in Salem.
Proctor. John Proctor.
John Proctor, yes. So John Proctor arrived on the Mayflower. He was a Cooper. I always want to say his last name is Cooper, but he was a Cooper, a guy who built barrels. But John Proctor Jr. was the first male to be accused of witchcraft in Salem. And then on the flip side, I want to say times 7 or not 7, I don't know, times something great grandfather was a battalion commander in the Alabama infantry during the Civil War. So the joke that I always tell everyone was, my wife's ancestor was a witch and mine was a racist. So look at how different our lives panned out.
Man, that's cool. I don't have any history that's cool like that.
I'm a direct descendant of Jefferson Davis, so just be glad that you don't have anything interesting in your family.
Cool, Brady.
I don't know. I mean, one of my great grandmother, nobody knows her real last name from Ireland, so who knows?
I got an Earhart last name, so I'm supposedly related to Amelia, but I haven't tracked it down.
That's spelled differently, isn't it?
The name was Americanized by one part of my family. They took the D out and the A.
I really don't understand the concept of that. Okay, if this is your last name, no, it's not. We're going to spell it this way.
No, it was actually the people coming over that did it.
Oh, they didn't like
it themselves. Like mine was spelled with 2 S's before we left Sweden.
So you would have been Swede?
Neil, you know my last name.
Yes, I do. Yes, I got you. Yeah.
No, your first name is Irish and your last name is Swede.
There's 2 S's right
your
there.
real name is what is used on the internet. Everything else doesn't count.
That's
correct. My legal name.
Like Neil's full name, it's Neil. The 604 is his middle name, and then Atheist is his last name. So that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Your real name on your military paperwork is actual Dr. Ben. They just
my
updated
name
it.
is Crab Rangoon King / Trans Jesus. Slash is important. You have to include the slash.
Then my name must be Checkster in the mail.
Yes.
Yeah.
My universe tried to kill me and didn't. And couldn't.
I got so
Stephanie's actual name is Sail Lady.
I got so much crap recently because I just promoted to sergeant in the Army, and they release a list of names with your middle name. So it's the full name, so you don't get confused.
So it's Will of Spades. Got it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Will O.S. But a buddy of mine gave me so much crap because he's like, he said, congratulations, Sergeant, middle name. And I'm like, thanks, I'll take it. But no one knew my middle name apparently. And honestly, I don't even know the genealogy of like where it came from. All I know is it was my grandfather's, who I think I mentioned earlier, was in World War II. But I am now Sergeant. C is my middle initial.
Well, my middle name is Gay, Gay.
Really?
You can imagine all the hard
that.
People gave me such a hard time in in elementary school. But I remember even back then, I was just like, "Why are you making fun of me? Go make fun of my mom." That's the one who gave me that name, and they had no comeback to that.
That's like making fun of someone's middle name is like Marie or Rose or Lynn. And I just called out so many fucking people, and I'm going to get so much shit for it. But
yeah, I mean, I really didn't understand it. I was always a happy child.
Well, if it helps any, back in the 90s, when Doc Martens were the big thing for shoes and boots or whatever, I used to have a pair of these cherry red. Well, there's more of a burgundy, I gather. Big ass red Doc Martens, like 13 hole, whatever Doc Martens.
Were you Ronald McDonald?
Just a sec. My middle name is Ronald. So,
I got to the punchline.
Your last name is McDonald.
I
know your actual last name, but
every time I would go to work, which I worked in the record store back then, all the guys that worked there, the whole crew would be out there going, "Here, he's got a friend wearing big red shoes." So yeah, that kind of stuck with me for a little while. I kind of want to get another pair of Docs. Those things were fucking amazing.
They just so my big thing is or at least recently my family has gotten into watching Jeopardy. I used to be into it when I was a kid, but then
my mom watches.
That was how we timed dinner when I was a kid.
I love Jeopardy.
My dad tried out for it, and supposedly he missed it by the tryouts by one question, so he was almost on Jeopardy. He's an incredibly smart guy, so I believe it. But we'll watch Jeopardy throughout the week, and we'll make little bets with my daughter, saying hey, if you get X amount of questions right, your bedtime is extended like an hour or whatever. But just recently they brought up Doc Martin and his role in Germany, and the boot adopted most of his name. It wasn't Dr. Martin, it was Dr. Martins. What was his surname? And sorry, I'm the whiskey's hitting me, so I'm going on a fucking tangent about random bullshit. But
it's all right. It's Martens, actually. It's an E, not an I. So.
Also, that's what this is, going on tangents about random bullshit. Ben can attest, I'm terrible at trivia. I somehow fluked yesterday and got like 3rd place.
Yeah, that was impressive.
But I'll give you a run for your money with Wheel of Fortune, though.
Wheel of Fish.
I was so
you haven't seen UHF.
Because I'd rather do Family Feud.
Oh my god!
Watch the YouTube video of stupid Family Feud answers, and it's so dumb.
They're so much fun. Like what was it? There was one that said, what was something Abraham Lincoln rode? And the top answer was like a carriage and then a horse or a trolley or something like that. And like the highest answer was Mrs. Lincoln.
Yeah. Mary Todd. Yeah, I remember.
Because they asked 100 Americans. You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
What state?
We are a special kind of special.
Here's a history question. What state had 2 senators go on to be famous presidents? What one state?
Ohio. Just guess.
Barack and Lincoln, Illinois. My state. Yay. I'm proud of that fact.
Yeah, but he's from Hawaii.
Well, I mean, John Adams and John Kennedy. There's John Adams, John Quincy Adams, and John Kennedy. Massachusetts, my state.
Oh, I guess he was a senator.
Hey, California, we like to go to Hollywood and pick people out and be like, hey, you, run our state. Run our country.
Actually, no. John Adams was vice president. John Quincy was a member of the House.
Giddy.
So only one senator. You're right. There you
go. If you want a fun time, go back and read some of the histories of the House of Representatives and read about the fights, duels, and literal near murders of what went on in the House of Rep.
Yeah,
really?
Cane beating back in the Civil War.
Our House of Representatives in the 17 and early 1800s, especially during the compromises for the slave trade and everything. Oh boy, they nearly killed each other on the floor. There were people that had to take sick leave for injuries because they were beaten on the House floor.
They used the glove thing. I challenge you to a duel.
White glove.
They weren't that nice.
I think they're contentious now.
Yeah, if you every time somebody goes, man, times are just getting worse. I'm like, you have no clue. You have no idea. Book. You don't know what you're fucking talking about.
So many newspapers that are around today because they were created as propaganda papers.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have a term for it called yellow journalism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go back and look at the Spanish-American War and how consent was manufactured in there. You know, today everybody looks at the Maine and goes, yeah, it was probably just a powder magazine. You know, somebody lit up a cigarette in the powder magazine and that's what caused the Maine to sink. Nope. Cause for war.
That was another one I just wrote a damn discussion post about, was the whole USS Maine explosion. And actually they so my older brother is also Army. For his first assignment, he was selected to be one of the tomb sentinels in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington.
That's a tough job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was telling me about like all the additional like uniform stuff he was assigned, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars worth just for that unit. But when I visited him right before I graduated, he took me to Arlington to watch a whole Tomb of the Unknown Soldier change of the guard, and but in Arlington is the mast sealed around like a giant like concrete statue is the mast of the USS Maine, which blew up in Cuba.
You know who John Raymond Rice is?
Sounds familiar.
So it sounds like a story you would enjoy.
I enjoy history because one, like obviously the cheesy answer is it teaches us things that we should and should not implement in modern day. But then I also enjoy the stupid shit that happened throughout history. Like I say, my favorite historical military event was there was a guy, get his name off the top of my head, who was decapitated by a stray cannonball at the Battle of Bunker Hill. And I say,
my gosh.
Stupid moments like that in history that are memorialized are hilarious to me. Like, just sheer absurdity, but you know what? It made history. Like
the best history book about the United States you can read is Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins.
I'll have to check that out. I got in the past.
He was involved in basically every U.S. clandestine operation overseas to expand the United States empire from the 1960s on.
Damn.
Coups, assassinations, economic takeovers, World Bank loans to basically put them in a position where they had to, sell their UN vote. However you want to look at it, he was involved in it, and he basically tells everything. And then the other one is the one that just came out about the guy who made the who admitted to making an undercover trip to Iran to make sure that the hostages were not released until after the election in Iran in 1979 or 1980. And basically stalled them sending the hostages back because they wanted to sabotage Carter's reelection.
And it worked.
Yeah. The day
They
after
played
the
their-
inauguration, they said, they basically paid Iran to wait until the day after the inauguration so that they could be like, look, when Reagan came in, they got scared and,
They can't win unless they cheat. George W. Bush was a cheat. Reagan was
his
a
dad
cheat.
financed the Nazis, or his grandpa did, Prescott.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think is funny to me, at the very least among the military and veteran community, is majority of us really fucking hate the government. And I'm going to be careful with what I say because I still belong to it. But majority of us, or them, us, I don't know, are not big fans of the government. And the big, quote that can sum it all up is we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. And that's
and the more you learn about like little things like that, the more you're just like, what, if this stuff is coming out, what is really buried that we've never heard about?
Did you know that before the Nazis crashed through the Ardennes forest in World War II, there was a spy plane that saw a convoy miles long of tanks and troops and
but they laughed at them because tanks can't get through the Ardennes forest.
Exactly. It's an actual fact that news got to the American commander, or the
anti-tank gun on a hill could have stopped the entire French invasion.
Yeah.
Because they had to go single file, so all you had to do was take out one of the first three tanks.
There's a couple fun blunders in that
one. Bad video game.
Well, it's like the Ghost Army in I want to say it was World War II. That's
you could say
they inflated. They
the
inflatable tanks and put them
on the shores of England. Yeah.
Yep. And
and Patton was in charge of it,
and he was pissed. My grandpa served under him, and
it was the fact that Patton was in charge of it was the reason the Germans thought it was real, because they're like, there's no way they would assign him to a phony army. There's no way.
And guess what? They fucking believed.
But the reason I thought of John Raymond Rice is because you mentioned Arlington. He was a sergeant in the army. He was a Native American, died in Korea, got sent back home to Iowa. They refused to bury him in the local cemetery because he was a Native American. So Truman ordered him to be buried in Arlington.
Wow, what a cool story.
It's both a shitty story and a cool story at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that again shows how far we've come as far as progression, and I don't want to say tolerance because that sounds like it's riding the line, but just how far we've come as far as accepting other people. Like the whole Tuskegee Airmen project, as another example, was racist as all fuck, but it also has since become a legendary account. It's become something that people tell stories about, and it is a whole chapter in textbooks across the U.S. Things that unfortunately start with bigoted roots show how incredible everyone is. It doesn't matter what race or gender or whatever you are,
It's taken a lot for people to become accepting, and look at how many people are not at all. And what really gets me is that all these religious evangelicals, they all find themselves as like, oh, well, I'm Christian, so I'm just, totally above board. But they're some of the most judgy, hateful people I've met.
The African Americans having to come home from so many wars and not be treated as well here on their own shore as they were, like say over in Europe. I just my heart breaks.
They were treated better when they were being shot at, and that's such a sad thing to say.
Yeah. Well, my boyfriend's from Somalia, and he says, you guys don't even know. Africans are way more racist to Africans than white people are to African Americans. I'm like, oh damn.
If you want to see overt, just unabashed racism, just go to the Mediterranean region of Europe, like Italy, southern France. They're flinging slurs like they're normal words, and they don't care.
Is that just human nature then? I mean, I've always been one of the people that believes that 85% of the population is relatively good, and 15% are bad.
Well, there's 500,000 years of protecting yourself from the other and other groups, because when groups would intermingle, you would get communicable diseases, you would get pest diseases, all these things that it was actually useful to separate yourself from out groups. And that's not useful anymore. I mean, that's just a vestigial trait that we kind of hold psychologically, and it's stupid nowadays. But it's one of those things that may have been useful at one time. Religion is another one. There's just lots of things that humans just hold on to. And
yeah, well, I fell far away from the apple tree here. I was raised by 4 Republicans and Catholics, and I'm an atheist and a liberal.
My parents still believe the world is 6,000 years old. So,
oh, wow. My mom did recently say she's starting to agree with me, and that she doesn't think that there's a God. Yeah, but I mean, she lost her son, so it's like a lot of that can shake a lot of people's faith. So, I'm just like, well, Mom, if you ever want to talk about it, give me a call.
My mom made a TikTok. I don't know when, but she started following me, and then she started hearing some of the things that I was talking about, the different fallacies and different historical accounts of Christianity. And growing up very Christian, it's kind of shook her. She, still falls to Pascal's wager, but she at the very least recognizes the bad shit in the Bible too. She doesn't just listen to what a pastor says or what religious friends say. She also acknowledges, hey, this causes harm, and for that I'm really thankful.
That's so rare.
Yeah. Back to my dad too. Him saying that religion is man-made. Holy shit! That threw me through a loop. That surprised the hell out of me. Does he still believe in God, and does he still support what the Bible says and some of its bigoted and not great approaches? Yeah, he does, unfortunately. But you know what? It's progress at the very least in some form, baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Neil, before you tell us we gotta go, I have to share a thing that happened today. I had a family gathering today, and I was talking to someone who was saying they were into conspiracy theories a little bit and all this stuff, and one of the things they believe is that satanic things are being pushed out into the world. And I politely informed them that I've done a lot of research and I'm involved. There's no tons. That I'm involved in a lot of discussions and very active in discussions about religion, and I kindly disagree. I reached a different conclusion. And they told me why they know God is real, so therefore Satan is real. It's because they were very depressed and they prayed really hard, and they magically were able to scrape together $20,000 to take their family on a vacation.
What?
Magically able to.
This actually freaking was sent to me today. And I was not about to mess it. Like, I didn't want to start crap, but the moment I got to the car, I kind of unleashed for a second. I was like, God is real because I prayed and got $20,000. What the?
So it's a $20,000 vacation on Yahweh or Satan?
I don't know. But then they were like, I tried it again this year, and I must have not has been as desperate because I only managed to pull together 2,000.
Well, that's a hell of a way to end the show.
There you go. You're welcome. I had to hear it. Now you had to too.
Yeah, I suppose. Just want to say thanks again for being the guest tonight. It was great to have you on. I hope you enjoyed this after party, getting to meet some more folks in the community and stuff like that. And
I did.
Some you've already met, like Ben over there.
The actual doctor.
The actual
doctor.
Crab Rangoon King.
Doctor.
And thanks everyone for jumping in here with Will and me for the after party. Always great to have everyone in, except for Eric. He decided not to jump in tonight. Screw you, Eric. I'm kidding. But anyways, thanks to everyone out there in the chats over on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. The show wouldn't be the same without you guys being able to interact with you guys. You guys make it what it is. So that's awesome. Also, thanks to my amazing patrons and our members. If you want to be a member, so you can be, mind you, I give everybody a fucking wrench, it seems. So you'll be blue with the member thingy and a wrench. So woohoo, double privileges. If you want to be a member, hit the join button. And I think it's a minimal amount per month. And all the proceeds, by the way, will go to Mikey and his new family. So I just sent him, what did we make? We made 112 Canadian last month. Or last couple months.
It's just 36 cents.
Which ended up being something like 80.
The US dollar is crashing right now. So
yeah, well,
it ended up 7 cents.
It ended up being about 86 and change, I think. And then, of course, I always pay him 50 US twice a month for what he does for the show. So I threw that in there. So he had like 130 something bucks or something that I get US. So, and he's like, that's awesome. So yeah, got to keep Mikey and the little ones and the little one in the flow there so that they don't struggle, because I don't want people I care about to struggle. All right. Anyways, if you missed the original interview, you can go over and hit the little link in the description box below and check it out there, because that's where all of Will's links are. If you want to stalk him somewhere else on the interwebs, you can through Facebook or TikTok and whatnot. All right. Anyways, until then, guys, like I always say at the end of the after parties, like the late, great Carl Sagan once said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And we'll see you guys next time.
So long, everybody.
Peace.
Time to let the hair down.